All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Hornet Highlight Series. Tonight, I have a very, very special group of young men and young women tonight. This is our fourth episode of Hornet Highlight Series, and four means to rule and to reign, so we're going to have some fun. Tonight, I have on what I call some heavy hitters, and they're truly impacting their community. And when I tell you that these three get things done, they get things done, y'all. I highly respect each and every one of them, and I'm excited for all of you to get to know them and find out what they're up to. So, good evening, Coach Bill Collick. How are you this evening?
Good evening. Thanks, Pastor Burton, for having this, and thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. My good brother, Robert Presbury. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing very well, Frank. Thanks for having me on as well.
Outstanding. And my near and dear friend of mine, Delaware State Police Captain Mary McGuire. How are you, Cappy?
I'm great. Thank you, Frank, for the invitation. I'm honored to be in everyone's company tonight.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Now, don't get it out of sorts. I do have manners, and I know what I'm doing, and I know that you're supposed to introduce the ladies first, but please understand, I got a method to my madness tonight, and I'm going somewhere. If you just stick with me, you'll find out what I'm about to do. So right now, I'm going to ask each and every one of you to introduce yourselves and tell our viewers what you would want them to know about you. And I'm going to start with Coach Collick. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Coach?
Okay, thank you, Frank. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Collick, and been a lifelong resident of the Lewis, Delaware area. I actually went to school at Cape and Lopin, the Lewis Special School District in elementary, then Cape and Lopin, and then went to Wesley College, and then University of Delaware, and came back home to start working. Started in elementary school teaching, and then went to high school, and then left high school and got into higher education at Delaware State University, and good fortune to stay there 20 years. Spent some time with a lot of good people, and then left there and actually got into high school administration, went to Sussex Tech for 10 years, and then finished up back at Cape and Lopin for my final 8 years of working. And so I've had a grand time in this thing called education. I got to meet a lot of great people, and it's wonderful to see what people are doing now that you came across their path and they came across yours.
Outstanding, Coach. Thank you so very much. And Robert Presbury, I'm going to call him Press because that's what we call him. Press, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the viewers what you would want them to know about yourself?
Okay, yeah. My name is, first, let me say hello to everybody. First, my name is Robert Presbury. I currently live in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but I was born and raised in Edgewood, Maryland. I'm a proud graduate from Edgewood High School in Edgewood, Maryland, and made my way to Delaware State University in 1984, and had the opportunity to play 4 years at Delaware State University. Had some great honors there. Two-time first team All-MEAC. One-time Defensive Player of the Year in 1987. Through few sources, I had the opportunity to play in the NFL through ways of Washington Redskins, Philadelphia Eagles. Had some great opportunities. I kind of bounced around and had the opportunity to play in every league at the time, except for the USFL when they first came out. So, I had the opportunity to win a couple of championships in Canada through way of the Baltimore Stallions. I played arena football in San Jose. I felt like I had a great professional career.
That's quite impressive, Press. And some of that stuff I didn't know about. So I'm sitting there listening, man. It's really impressive.
I thought you had a little bit of everything there back here.
I got a little something for you. So,
Sure,
Kat,
I'm sure you do.
So, Kat, why don't you talk to us? Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what you would want the viewers to know about you.
Sure will, Frank. So just as a coach, I'm a native Delawarean. I was born and raised about 20 minutes south of DSU in Felton. Went to Lake Forest High School, graduated from there, and then decided I was going to stick around, and I went to University of Delaware. So I'm a blue hen. Don't hold it against me.
Boo.
Yeah. I'm up in the air right now about a lot of different things on that, but it is all good. It is all good. So with as our viewers can hear tonight, we have a very impressive group of panelists tonight. So I want to move into a next segment before we get to the meat of why we're here tonight. But the next segment is a segment where I go in and brush off my investigative skills and my source development. I haven't done it in a while, but I want to make sure that I'm still sharp. And it's called Little Known Facts about each and every one of our panelists tonight. So I go in and I find out some information about them that you can't find on the internet. You will really have to have somebody tell you a little bit about them. And I want to share the information that I have. And like I said, I know it's ladies first, but we're going to start in the order that I had them introduce themselves to. Coach Collick, and then Press, and then Kat McGuire. So Coach Collick, let's start with you, young man. So over 51 years ago, in 1970, you were not only blessed to play on Delaware's prestigious Blue and Gold game, and if you're not from Delaware, Blue and Gold game is a high school all-star football game with the best players in the state. The North players are blue, the Gold players are South. Coach Collick had the opportunity to be a part of the Gold team. Not only did he make it to the Blue Gold game, but he was named the outstanding lineman of the game as he represented his Gold team. So a little bit different now than back then. And Coach Collick is probably a generation before me, but I would suffice it to say that we played at the end of August. And so that left us with maybe about a week before it was time to report to college. And most of us had scholarships. So with Coach Collick, it was no different. But he was faced with a conundrum. And his conundrum was this. He received scholarship offers from Wesley College as well as Morgan State University. So he had a decision to make. So he made the difficult decision to attend Morgan. So as he started going to Morgan on a Sunday, off he's gone, and he's going to this preeminent public urban research university in Northeast Baltimore. Now, mind you, Coach Collick is from Lewis, Delaware. And those of you who know Delaware is split up, and we call it two halves. The upper part of Delaware, and we call it slower lower. And slower lower is because it's a little slower down there. And most of the people in the north are from the city, New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Atlanta, whatever. So you got this guy going from Lewis to Northeast Baltimore, right? So off they go. Coach Collick and his uncle are driving out there. His uncle drops him off on a Sunday, and then his uncle leaves. Coach Collick doesn't even unpack, but he catches the first thing smoking back to Delaware. He hops a bus back to Delaware, which drops him off at then, it used to be Clementi's bus station on Route 13 in Newcastle. But now he's faced with his second dilemma of the same day. Now, his second dilemma is that once he arrives at Clementi's, he got to figure out how to get back home to Lewis. Now, mind you, Newcastle to Lewis is about 80.5 miles south, or about an hour, 24-minute drive. And here's a cliche in the religious circles. We always say, when we speak about God, Press, we always talk about look at God, right? He may not come when you need him, but he always comes right on time.
Yes, sir.
So here's Coach Collick faced with his second dilemma. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, he looks up and there stands his neighbor, Mr. Granville Barrett. So Coach Collick says, okay, bet I'm going to go ask him if he's going home. He asked Mr. Barrett if he's going home, and Mr. Barrett said, yeah. So he jumps into his car, and they take a ride back down to Lewis. So Coach Collick is good, but he got one final quandary that he has to face. In one day, 3 different things in one day. So when he gets home, he finally arrives home, but nobody knows he's coming. So when he walks in the door, his mom looks at him and she's surprised. And she said, you can't stay here. Do something. So Coach Collick goes and he talks to the coaches at Wesley. And ultimately, Coach Collick ends up at Wesley. So watch this. Wesley, 48 miles, 1 hour drive, or Morgan, 142 miles, 2 hours and 24 minutes. So Coach Collick chooses Wesley, and he plays at Wesley. And that's my little known fact on Coach Collick. Now, Coach Collick, I got to ask you this. So what happened that you didn't even unpack? What was going on?
You know, Frank, I told you, my family didn't have a car. So I probably, before the All-Star game in New York, I probably had been past Milford. And you know, I get there and, you know, my uncle drops me off seriously and he said, you got to make the best of this. And he had to leave home after 8th grade and he went to school in Wilmington. And, you know, he didn't want to hear any excuses or anything. So he really did. And he thought it was a great opportunity there. But, you know, once I got to, you know, I settled that I could go to Wesley, and I kind of knew that I could, but, you know, my mom, you know, she thought I needed to stay there or whatever. So it worked out, but, you know, it's just that I couldn't say I got homesick because I didn't stay that long. So to be honest with you, you know what, I had to find a way, and I did it. You're right about the good Lord. I mean, think about the possibility of leaving Baltimore in the morning, I don't know, 6 o'clock or something, whatever it was, and I get the Clementes and State Road, and there's Mr. Granville Barrett. I'm thinking, man, what a great opportunity and a great time, and I thank the good Lord. Really.
Amen. Okay, let me move on to Press real quick. So Mr. Press, let me see what I got for you. All right, let's go. So Press, we'll go back to your senior year at DSU, and I can kind of relate to this information because I have a son who plays the same position as you, but was the same size as you, who gets the same kind of reputation as you had. So I'm gonna go back to your senior year. So here is this. He already told you what he did, all these accolades. So behind his tough veneer of being this big, bad football player that possibly could eat nails for breakfast, because that's the way they see you, right? What I've come to understand and what I've come to know, and even with my son the same way, Fresh, you're an awesome dude, man, with a huge heart. So people get it twisted by what they see and by what your actions are, but your heart is huge. So with that being said, you did things in school, in college, behind the scenes that nobody else knew about. And you didn't want any recognition. You didn't want any extra attention. And even the Bible even says that God is going to, that's why you're so blessed now, because the Bible says God will reward you for what you do in secret, right? So he rewards you openly. But here you go, back to your senior year. With this big heart, you're doing things for other people and helping them out. And so one of the things is that you were so kind that you would allow the Brothers in the Well, because you said you don't know what that is, Conwell Hall. You would allow the Brothers in the Well. We didn't have any barbershops around or anything like that. So you would give brothers a cut if they started wolfing, right? So during that time, I mean, you did it. You didn't want no extra attention or anything. But so one day, senior year, you're sitting there doing what you do because that's how you are and your heart is huge. One day, the dean of Conwell, Dean Bruce, comes up and asks you to trim him up. And you said, all right, bet. have a seat. He told Dean Brusca, have a seat. And then the unthinkable happened. And let me tell y'all something. This is the thing that every brother dreads about sitting in that chair. Heck, even they made some scenes in movies about this. And so you already know what's going to happen. So Press started to cut him in. And then all of a sudden, boom, zzz, the guard pops off of the Clippers and Press cuts a butter knife landing strip in the middle of Dean Bruce's head, right? And watch this. What are you gonna say to Press? Because he's so beastly and intimidating figure, you think Dean gonna say something to Press? So he didn't say a thing to Press, but he walked around campus until that thing grew back in, and it was crazy. So Press, tell me about that, man. You gotta light me up, baby. And while you tell me about that, let me ask you this: had that ever happened before about the guard coming off? And did it ever happen again, or did you just stop cutting? Talk to us.
No, well, that was kind of like my hustle thing in school. We all wanted to make a couple of dollars, so I mess around and I'll cut your hair for $5. But let me tell you how it started. It started when we started cutting the freshmen's hair when they was freshmen, and they was G-Nat, and we cutting their head bald. So that's where the talent came from, cutting that hair. And then, we didn't have no money, so you ended up shaving up your own hair or doing whatever. So I cut my own hair for a long time. And everybody said, where do you get your hair cut? I said, well, I cut it myself. So it kind of started there. And then everybody, who had a couple of dollars, they would come to me and say, Press, I need a cut, man. So I would end up cutting their hair and everything. And then that brought back memories when you're talking about it felt like I remember him coming in there for something. And I wasn't doing it. I said, yeah, I got you, Dean. So Dean came in, and I guess he had like the high top box fade, and we were sitting there talking and everything, and I snap on the number 3 guards on my Clippers and everything, and we're talking. Next thing you know, I went to go over top of his head, and the guard fell off.
Wow.
Next thing you know, I just put a nice streak down the road.
That's crazy. So I did my research, so I got some good stuff. Press mentioned, in case you guys don't know, Press mentioned, he said something about G-Nat. So when we were freshmen, we had to wear T-shirts that say G-N-A-T, Nat. It spells Nat. But so what happens is, I don't know about your class, Press, but that was all. We didn't have to get our hair cut. We didn't have to, because I had cats from New York. I had cats from Philly. And we just banded together. We was like, we not getting hazed. We didn't. So that's all we had. We did have to wear the shirt. So if you guys heard him say G-Nat, it's Nat. So that's what he was talking about. We would all have to wear that on the summer camp until we officially became a Hornet. All right. So good stuff. Good stuff. Now, Cap, let me tell you something, man. You are a hard nut to crack. I had to do some digging to get some information on you, but I can tell you this. This is what I can tell you. In 2007, when I was working with the FBI and I came down to do a block on hostage negotiation, I actually trained the Newcastle County Police as well as Delaware State Police. And I can tell you this, from 2007, when I did that class, you stood out. You stood out so much so, that's why we're still friends to this day, because you were just amazing, just the way that your mind, the way that you handled situations, your voice as a negotiator, it was of high quality. And I knew that you would be I knew you'd do extremely well in that field. So that's that. So let me tell you what I dug up. So let's go back when you were a lieutenant in Troop 5. When you were a lieutenant in Troop 5, initially you were apprehensive about working with your captain because y'all had differing work styles. However, which I know, and anybody who comes in contact knows, you eventually became the perfect partner. Now, as I try to get some information about you, and I know a lot of people in your organization from the top brass all the way down to to the line staff, but your colleagues speak very well of you. They say that you care for your people and you completely are engaged in community relations. And I know that for a fact because you're always doing something with the community. That's why you're here today. But one of the things that they emphasize, and I know this for a fact as well, is that you don't hesitate to voice your opinion at all. But when you do it, it's always respectfully, and it's always with honesty. That always is your strongest attribute. So that's what I also greatly admire about you as well. So your captain at Troop 5, which I ended up talking to, Alice Brumley, she said that she was so impressed with your work and with you and your work ethic that she nominated you for a Lifetime Achievement Award for the Mid-Atlantic Association for Women in Law Enforcement. And you received that last month. And Alice also expressed, she said that you earned that award and you deserve so much more. Finally, a little known fact about you is that you are the very first female appointed to the Delaware State Police Special Ops Unit. So that is amazing to me. Talk to me a little bit about some of that stuff, Kat.
Well, that kind of goes back to 07, Frank. For me, when I became a trooper, I didn't know negotiations was going to be in my future. And once I got on our hostage negotiations team in 2007, I had some great mentors in Bernard Miller and yourself and some of the people from the county. We worked with a lot of allied agencies, and so we moved forward. And when Bernard left, he retired back 2008, 17, 18, a couple years ago. Anyway, I had the opportunity to backfill his position as the OIC of our conflict management team.
Okay.
And you know how tough that can be.
Yes, ma'am.
Sitting in that command post with my counterparts from special operations and EOD, and being the only female sitting there. But it wasn't that bad. I developed those relationships, and as I developed those relationships, we came together, we gelled, and we handled some of the biggest incidents the state's probably ever seen. Including the prison takeover.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have been able to do it without each other. So I'm proud of having that opportunity, and I'm really proud that the division afforded me and entrusted me in that position as well.
Outstanding. You are A1 in my book. Coach Collick, let's move forward. Just very briefly before we get into why we're here and about the fundraiser, share some of your fondest memories at DSU.
Well, I think the big thing for me is going to DSU, and I told you when I started that my uncle had graduated from there in the 40s. And the thing he said to me that you have to win collegiately. You don't last very long if you don't. But the big thing I'd be able to do to give some people an opportunity. And when I look at my memories, I guess even reflect to the day, when I look at what so many of the young men are doing now, I think that's my big thing, because Robert will tell you, they say NFL means not for long, and you're going to have to do something else beside that. So when I look at what they're doing now, and I look at Robert looking at Delaware State 130th year and saying that we need to do something special we all took from that legacy and we need to give back. And those are the leadership qualities that I see them have today. It's quite special. It was wonderful winning the conference championship in 1985, the first time in the history of the school. That was wonderful, and beating some people that we were able to beat, and the consistency with which we were able to do some things, and kids graduating. But my big thing is looking at what those people who are young young people then and are older now and taking care of their families, doing some things in the community. I think just being involved, just that we were able to keep some people together and they would go on and do well. And that's what you said, what is your very just most important memory? It is that able to look at that and say, I'm hoping down the road we'll be able to get some things out of this, and that I feel that we did, and I'm very excited. To every time I met, I hadn't seen Keith Jarvis in a long time, and saw him there this weekend, and boy, doing a great job. I mean, working well. I mean, leadership and what he's doing, and so that's where I'm at, and that's what I think. That's why you do it. I do.
Outstanding, Coach, and thank you for that reflection. Press, tell our viewers where you're from and how you came to attend DSU, and tell us about some of your fond memories there.
I'll start basically. I grew up, like I said, in Edgewood, Maryland. I went to Edgewood High School. I'm proud to say I'm part of the only 10-0 football team that ever played at Edgewood. We went 10-0, and the only team in history probably never went to the playoffs at 10-0. It was just we didn't have enough points because you had to play your county teams first.
Yeah.
A team that was 8-2 had more points than we did, even though we went 10-0. We just didn't have enough points. So it kind of went there. You know, I had opportunities to go to other schools. I had opportunities to go to Towson State. I had opportunities to go to a couple other big schools, but you know, my heart was pretty much set on Delaware State. Coach McLaurin came and recruited me. It's crazy because I was recruited as a running back because I played running back in high school. Wow. I don't know if you knew that. I was a running back. I was the punter. I was just an athlete. So Del State recruited me. They got me there. And I felt like they didn't have a place for me. So I get there, you know, you got players like Gene Lake, Terrence Hoover. Yep. You know, them guys are in front of me. So they said, Presbury, we're going to put you at tight end. So they put me at tight end one day. And then the next day, it was a total switch. I ended up going to inside linebacker. So my freshman year, I played inside linebacker. And we still had a slew of talent at inside linebacker. And, you know, at the time, Coach Brzezicki was there, and just a lot of things happened. Then it turned around, Coach Collick ended up being the coach my sophomore year. And we were blessed. We were blessed with so much talent. Yeah. And, you know, and opportunity. So it's like you got to get your talent on the field. So day one, I end up playing defensive end. So by way of defensive end, I'm here.
Yes.
As far as my fondest memories of Del State, this weekend kind of confirmed it, you know, and you probably confirm it as well. Man, it's so proud to be a Hornet. You know,
yes, sir.
You know, I feel like, you know, when I look at some of the guys that I see, we were one big family. And when I say that, you know, coming in as a freshman, you know, we came in with the basketball players, we came in with the band members, and from day one we bonded. Like we were there early in the summertime, and our bond became so strong that as a family, we basically took care of our own. We took care of Delaware State like it was us. It belonged to us. You know, to this day, man, I look back and those are my fondest memories. Like, man, I don't think it's the same now, but back then, man, we were proud of the band. Like I remember the band, we had 2 days and sometimes 3 days.
They were out there with us.
Out there, they had 4 days.
Yeah,
they was on the field before we were, and they were on the field after we were, and we were proud of them, man. And they were, you know, back then they were 150 deep.
Yes.
You know, and we were winning games, and they were representing us. and it was awesome, man. Like we just that bond, and over the weekend I was there, and some of the basketball players are there, and some of the band members are there, and it's, I mean, that's home.
Yeah.
And it felt like, it's an honor to know, like, man, this is a family. So when you think back, even homecoming, we were there for homecoming, just to realize, man, we were so tight, and nobody could even mess with Delaware State. If you weren't from Delaware State, you came on campus,
Yes.
you had to deal with us as a whole.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Like you don't belong on campus. It's time for you to go.
And
word got around so quick, and a prime example, I'll tell the story real quick, like the football team, basically when the football team's on campus, there ain't no problems. But we were at a away game, and they had some issues on campus. Man, it's like, the players that don't go were there, the basketball players. Man, it's crazy just to be blessed to have a family like that. And to this day, man, it's a blessing.
Yeah, and Press, you're right. We were a family, and we still are a family. I have relationships that I've established for over 41 years ago,
yes,
and still friends today. And I know Coach Collick knows this. I was blessed to be able to play. This was before Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. I was blessed to play baseball and football. And the one thing about the baseball team, we had myself and Steve Holiday, which played running back for us. But we also had two guys, one guy from Philadelphia and one guy from Delaware on the baseball team. A guy named Orlando Johns, who played for Cesar Rocky, and then a guy named Kevin Washington, K-Love, Kappa, who was from Philly. So us four as freshmen made up the most runs, the most home runs, the most everything. We called ourselves the Phil Dell Mob. So still today, when we talk to each other, he's like, Phil Dell represent. So it's like that. Real briefly, Press, tell us a little bit about, very quickly, a little bit about life after football, and what are you doing now?
Honestly, right after football, I mean, my last year was around 96. I had finished playing with the Baltimore Stallions, and it was time to do something else. Never really made the money that I expected, in the NFL. It was this time. It was like, I'm going on 31, 32, and, the young boys is coming in and getting opportunities. So it was time. So when I left, I ended up moving to Delaware. I worked at the Youth Detention Center, in Wilmington.
Yes.
Or Newcastle County. So I was there, and I was coaching with my college roommate, Cordy Greenlee, at McKean High School. So, I did 4 years there, and then I ended up getting married and moving to New Jersey, which was the worst decision of my life, but, not to say. But now actually, I'm a service technician. I do HVAC and refrigeration, and basically work on commercial restaurants, supermarkets, and everything else. We deal with all their HVAC, refrigeration, and cooking equipment.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
That's what I do now.
Outstanding. So let's get into the meat of why we're here, about this 130-mile bike ride vision that you guys had. Coach Collick and Press, you guys did a double team on this one. Tell us how this 130-mile bike ride vision came to fruition, and tell us about the vision and what you guys hope to accomplish.
All right. Well,
just quickly, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can start, and then Coach Collick can piggyback off what I was saying, because I was talking to Cordy Greenlee, who was my college roommate. And, I told him this a while ago. I said, Cordy, man, I got to do something, man. I want to do something, for our football team, for our football program. And, was thinking about it, and I threw it at him. I said, Cordy, what about this? I said, it's our 130th anniversary. So why not bike 130 miles, for the school, and raise some money for the football team. So, at the time, that was my vision.
Yes.
And I really didn't say too much else about it. And then Cordy had spoke to Coach Collick, about my vision and everything. And Coach Collick gave me a call, and he was automatically on board. He's like,
Yes.
hey, we gotta get this done. So, you know, once he found out, it was on. It was total motivation, and my vision really basically came intuition. So it was a done deal after that. And ever since then, man, we worked on it, and you know, we got it done, and we still got some work to do. You know,
Right.
I mean, right now we're just honestly just scratching the surface. But the fact that, you know, we planted the seed, and you know, we're getting some of the alumni players involved. You know, so this thing is starting to revolve. And you know, like I said, thanks to Coach Collick, and a real big thanks to Mary, because if it wasn't for her, it would have been a struggle. It definitely would have been a struggle.
Yeah, I just want to chime in without a doubt. And I called Robert after talking with Cordy, and I just thought it was a tremendous idea that he had come up with. It was, for me, and it still is, it's visionary in that for 130 years, people have been getting and being given an opportunity to get an education at Delaware State. And I thought it was a tremendous ideal. As he said, I thought it was great. I certainly developed a relationship with Captain McGuire, and it was her. We talked about vision, a vision that we need to make sure this could happen, but we need to make sure that people were going to be safe when it happened. And it was certainly her ideal about contacting law enforcement officers from the Maryland, Virginia deal right through Dover. And as Robert said to you, it was unbelievable. It was really quite smooth. And I can't say enough about what she was able to do. I was in Georgetown, and I stopped in to see the chief there. I known him, and you know, he just said, Cap McGuire's got it all done. And you know, he had helped First State Community Action with when they started doing the vaccinations as it relates to the pandemic, and so you know, it was just unbelievable. And you'll certainly let her chime in here, but she actually got with some people and just got us. This thing was smooth and very concise and just well organized, and I really. Hats off to her, and certainly would like for her to chime in about her vision once she got from us and Presbury, from myself and Robert Presbury, like what we really wanted to do.
Yeah, really quickly, because that's leading into my next point, and this is where my Cap gets a chance to shine because she's incredible. Cap, tell her. I know this, but I want you to tell our viewers. How does great collaboration between you and Coach Collick develop? And what was your role in that bike ride fundraiser?
So Coach Collick and I, as you already know, you know, I got a great referral from you when I became the captain at Troop 7. It's been a year and a week, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
I had to select an honorary commander.
Yes.
And having never worked in that area, I reached out and used some of those lifelines, phone a friend, and get some insight. And you know, I got some really good information from some array of people. And Coach Collick ended up being that man, and I have been, as you say, blessed, completely blessed. With the relationship we've built. He is Troop 7's honorary commander for this year. And, I'll be careful. I won't put out too much, but he did go up and drive on the skid pad with us one day. A little bit of that emergency operations of our vehicles.
EVOC, baby, EVOC.
Yeah, we enjoyed a day together out there. But, him and I catch up, and, we spend a little time, talking about the communities we're serving, how we can better serve them. And, one morning we're talking at breakfast. We have our Panera bread breakfast. And,
yeah.
We go there, and he says, Mary, I have something going on, and I want to run it by you. It was easy lift for the Delaware State Police.
Yes.
I made some contacts. He said, Mr. Presbury's doing this bike ride to commemorate, DSU's 130th anniversary. And I just started making some phone calls. I called our allied agencies, starting at the Maryland line, from Selbyville to Millsboro, to Georgetown, all the way up 113. And everybody was willing to help. When we got to Dover PD actually met us before we got there with their motors.
Right.
And, we just provided that lead and tail to keep, Mr. Presbury and his guys safe. And it wasn't all me. It was a lot of those other agencies that, everybody got together and everybody was there to support him. So again, that relationship building is huge. And, I couldn't ask for, better partner in this than that's for sure.
Yeah, and Cap, like I said before at the very beginning, I'm telling you, I'm interviewing people that get things done. And that's just what you do. When Coach Collick asked you to do something, man, you had them all lined up. Press, you look like you were going to say something. Did you want to add to that?
I'm just, man, like I said, it's a blessing, and my prayers and thanks really go to God, because, my prayers to him and everything came into play. It was perfect. Everything, we had a schedule, and it just clicked. Everything just clicked. Even having the wind tore back for like 80 miles, like God was saying, yeah, we got you, and it was smooth. So again, I thank her. I thank all the police departments, that chimed in, and, my team from KRT and QRT, man, they were so psyched and blessed and happy, just to have the opportunity. And they was like, man, you're a celebrity or something, but it was really awesome. And again, like, it was a blessing. And I thank God for her. I thank God, for everybody that basically, helped us through this.
And you know what, Press, that's some great input, because I don't want to get too deep, but I can, because it's my forum and I can do whatever I want to. But just like you said, and so whenever you have a vision, right, God will always provide the provision. And it's not anything new. When Nehemiah was in bondage, right, in Babylonian captivity, and he wanted to go back to Jerusalem to build the wall. And so finally, Xerxes finally said, okay, man, listen, you go. And so Nehemiah looked at God and said, I know what I want to do, but I don't have the material. I don't have the money. But when he stepped out and walked and started going, then the wood came. The people gave him wood. They provided money. So when you talk about, are you a superstar celebrity? Well, guess what? It was people tacking on. Coach Collick called me. I called my contacts up at the press. I talked to a reporter from there. He said, I'll be there. So again, all you got to do is step out on your vision, and then the rest will come. So that's my 2 cents now. I'm sticking with it. So with all that being said, for all of you, as we wind down, where do we go from here concerning this fundraiser? What's the next step?
Well, I think the next step is, go ahead.
Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
I think the next step is that, I think the next step is that we must continue and be able to contact more alumni and former football players. We say that Delaware State has a tremendous legacy. We've all taken from it. We really have. We've been blessed to be able to reach in and it lift us up and move us forward. And we've got to give back. And that's, for me, that's the next step. It's really trying to find everybody who has, over the period of time, a database that will allow us to contact everybody. And as our season lines still close, so be it. We purposely said that we would open this and go through December 31st in order to get as many people as we can, and then to build this with some other things that will serve as opportunities to bring people together who have been to Delaware State. And Robert, certainly you had some things to say, so I appreciate if you would chime in as well.
Yeah, Frank, this is actually much bigger than I expected. But, as Coach Collick saying, we all, everybody who played there got something out of Delaware State. They got a degree, they got a job, something. They were able to walk away with something. And now, I feel as a whole, it's time, it's time to get back. If you love your alma mater, it's time to get back. But also bigger than that, I feel like we have opportunity to do things through numbers.
Yes.
There's, as you already know, there's strength in numbers. Iron sharpens iron. So, we have an opportunity to get back to a situation where I feel at this point could be detrimental. And, for instance, this thing about the MEAC itself, who knows where the MEAC is going to be in the next 5 years.
Right.
So that's, to me, that's one of my major concerns. Like, where's the MEAC going to be in the next 5 years? But bigger than that, I come from a school, like I said, we had pride. We had this determination, and, it's been 30 something years and the same struggle continues, as far as, we played and we didn't have a lot, we had hand-me-downs. My freshman year, I remember playing with spot builts that probably came,
yes, sir.
That probably came from the 1970s that were refurbished.
Yeah.
And they were spot builts with the hard leather bottom and the screw-in cleats.
Yes.
And, and you just thought that was crazy. You know what I mean? I think our kids have more now, but they still don't have the things that they need to succeed. They don't have the tools to really go out there and win games as needed. And on top of that, a bigger issue is, recruitment. I feel Coach, he's kind of caught in Coach Milstead, he's caught in a catch-22. He's asked to go out and perform and win games and everything, yes, but you can't win games without proper recruitment.
That's right. So,
those are things that is still a major struggle. The stadium was built in the 60s, I think, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And, the locker room is basically the same way. I was joking with somebody yesterday. They said, "Yeah, man, that locker room is the same." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I remember I walked in there and I seen your name written on the locker room." so all that stuff is still the same. And like I said, we have an opportunity to help with that as a whole, and to bring money in to help with recruitment. When he's only got a certain budget for recruitment. So these are things, and the big thing is working on trying to get a new stadium to help with recruitment. And I feel I understand football is not a big money maker, and they might lose more money than make, but every school that has a team sustains that, and unfortunately that's where your pride, that's where you're gonna get people in the stands, is basically through the sports program.
Yeah.
Like I said, I played in the era where, we play games and both sides of our field, it was always packed. So everybody wants a winner. Even players, we want to see our kids succeed. We want to see our kids win. But in order to do that, we have to get behind them 100%. And now, this is our opportunity to get behind them. And, I'm trying to reach out, to guys from the 70s, guys from the 80s, guys from the 90s, all the way up until now. It's time as a whole to come together collectively and sit down and do something to support our team.
That's right. Those are some.
If I could just chime back in, the one thing the other thing I'd like to get out of this, I saw some people at homecoming hadn't seen in a while. and seen in a while. And there's, Doug Reed and Mark Ware, who are retired police officers. Mark in Maryland, Doug Reed, our own DSP. Had a great fortune to work with former Colonel McLeish and then Brian Hopp and Hudson Keller with Lansky. I mean, just good people. And I'm a believer in people. We live in the greatest country in the world. And so part of this is to connect with people like Mayor McGuire, who will recruit or will get kids, young people from Delaware State, from the community involved, will give back in the community. So I believe in policemen. I believe in what we're doing. When we grew up, there was a community that said it takes a village. Well, it takes a country to have good people and believe in people. And so part of me wants to get involved more in community policing. We are much more like the truth fully. If I say, well, what do you really also want to do? Well, I want that to be a part of our total accomplishment as well.
Yeah. And Coach Collick, I told you guys when I started the interview, I'm dealing with some heavy hitters, man. Y'all guys get things done. Every time you speak, you lead it into my next point. So you already leading me. You already know what I'm about to say. So anyway, I'm going to give you the last point of emphasis, Kat. As most people know, I live in a binary world. I live in a world where I love my community, but I also come from a law enforcement background, and I'm retired law enforcement. And it's important to me coming from the city and not having a good ideology about law enforcement because of experiences that I had. I was always a good kid. I never got in trouble a day of my life, but man, I would often find myself at the end of a barrel of another law enforcement's gun. And those are the things that kind of the disconnect between community and law enforcement. But being in law enforcement, I'm one of the biggest advocates now to go back to those communities to allow people, because I had the opportunity to do it. So I'm going to give you the last point of emphasis, and I'm going to ask you and I'm going to say it, and don't you argue with me, as a community relations expert, I said it, expert, right? How can the community become more involved with the DSP, whether it be recruitment or ride-alongs or anything? Talk to us about that.
So, I actually had the opportunity to spend a little time in our human resources section before I got promoted to captain.
Okay.
And it really expanded my knowledge of, what we need to do. And that recruiting effort shouldn't stop at our human resources section. It needs to continue. It needs to be our troopers out on the street. We need to engage the communities. As I mentioned earlier, before we started this, Coach Collick and I stop into rural farms. We see someone that's working there, and we're talking to him, and he has some interest in law enforcement. So, I start recruiting him right from the rural farms.
Yes.
And we have to do that on a daily basis, and we have to engage our communities, all of our communities, so that our law enforcement agency is representative of the communities we serve.
Yeah.
And what better place to start than those colleges that are within the state of Delaware? All we have to do is walk across the street to DSU and make those relationships, and talk to the students that have an interest. And you have to do it early on too. Delaware State Police has a Trooper Youth Week, for high school kids. It gives them a week, in the summer of an intensive academy, what it would be like, and they do PT, and they also do some accident investigation, criminal investigation. And, we have a cadet program, and that's for those kids that are out of high school, maybe in college.
Yeah.
They can do enforcement of parking violations. So,
Mm-hmm.
We have some opportunities. And like you said, ride-alongs. All you have to do is call the local troop. Say, hey, I'm interested and I want to do a ride-along.
Mm-hmm.
but again, it can't just be one person. Our whole
Yeah.
division's responsible, and we need to build those relationships with the schools, the communities. And I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
With Bill Collick, and I enjoy. He's going to be a lifelong friend of mine.
There he is.
And he has
Absolutely.
people that I can get out there and I can get into the areas that maybe I didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, I look forward to continuing, what we've started, and continue to make those connections, and bring the people into the troop, show them what we have, and and going out into the community, and working with the kids, when they're 5 years old. Hey, you want to be a police officer? It's a good thing.
Yeah. That's how Coach Collick is, though, man. He just grows on you. Once you get to know him, I don't think anybody ever lets him go. But Kat, you said something that's very important. On-the-spot recruiting is huge. That's how I got into federal law enforcement. A guy just started talking to me about being a Secret Service, and I ended up being in the FBI for 22 and a half years. And I think sometimes you just have to be relative, not with the whole recruitment thing, but just in the conversation. So that's good. I believe that Delaware State Police does a great job as far as attempting to increase our numbers in our Black and brown communities. I know up here in Troop 2, but now he's at headquarters, I believe, Captain Sapp, man, he was incredible. I had forums at our church where, what would you do if you got stopped by a police officer? And I brought the whole community in because I wanted them to know what we go through as law enforcement. And the crazy thing about it, and I was telling Press this before, and Coach Collick knows, we're caught in a conundrum as far as Black law enforcement, because we're not Black enough for the brothers, but we're not blue enough for the badge. So that simply means that when we go home, oh, you are op, you work for the feds. And then when we come on a job, we don't get promoted like we are supposed to, but it's changing now. And one of the things is in those forums, so I had that, the one thing, what do you do when you get stopped? And the second one is I brought, when Ahmaud Arbery and all those, Breonna Taylor, those folks were getting killed, I brought in a whole nother set. Police chief from, I brought Nate McQueen, I brought Chief Tracy from Wilmington, I brought Vaughn Bond from the county, and plus officers who actually were not from Delaware, but from Baltimore, from New York City, to let people know, yo, I didn't go to Harvard, I went to DSU. I didn't just wake up one day and was some brilliant lawyer or accountant. I was just blessed to be in that position, so I wanted to let people know. So sometimes when you are, what SAP did was, instead of just going out there and your only interaction with law enforcement is when you get in trouble, he invited them down to the troop. He said, come to the troop. I'll talk to you. And then he started having community days, engagement days, where he would bring people in. And it's so funny because, like Fresh with the vision, you go out and you do that thing. SAP and DSP had that vision, and it's sad because for everybody who was going like this, when the invitation got open, very few people took up the offer. So I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to focus on them and increase the number of minorities in law enforcement, so it can be reflective of our community. So, Cap, let me tell you something. You are doing an excellent job since 2007. You have been on top of things. So I want to end the interview by saying this. Is there anything that I missed or anything that any of you want to add?
Yeah, I do real quick. Again, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to talk to you. Reggie Barnes, he's a police officer.
Yes, sir.
He's up, and I seen him this weekend. He's doing a great job. He's working with PAL now, so he has some kids at the game over the weekend. I thought that was, that's one of our great opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'll probably sit down with Cap in the next couple of weeks, because my next vision really is kind of going to be a co-op with Delaware State and the police department and the community.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
I had already talked to Milstead about it, and he jumped in with 2 feet as well. So my next vision, and like I said, I'm presenting to you now, is Delaware State giving back to the community athletic wise. So being a part of the Boys and Girls Club for several years, I had the opportunity to work with kids and the community. So now my vision also is really to pull in some of our athletes, some of our football players, you know, some of our basketball players, and actually go out into the community and get involved with them as well, as far as, you know, doing flag football leagues and basketball leagues that are right there around campus, you know, and actually pull those kids on campus to see what college life is about, you know, at a young age.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. You know, so they can have dreams and visions about, you know, coming to Del State and going to college in general. So I will be talking to you about that soon, Cap.
I'm in.
Okay. Coach Collick, Cap, you got any final remarks?
Like, I just want to say, certainly we are hopeful that we will be able to continue to use this forum, this wonderful forum that you have. You do a wonderful job as well. And Robert, you're right. We got to really get, and you talked about it, Frank, we got to get people to see what law enforcement is all about.
Yeah.
And that what it should be all about, and become part of the solution, become part of the solution. I just think that we have so many people that can be. We've got to show them the way, and again, so that we can be what we need to be in our great country. We really do.
Outstanding. Cap, did you have anything?
No, I just you know, I feel blessed to be with these two gentlemen, and you as well. You know, there's one thing that I want to say, and I hear Coach Collick say it all the time. I'm gonna use your quote, Coach.
All good. It's
Peanut
all
butter
good.
and jelly sandwich tastes the same no matter whose house you're at.
Oh man.
Come on down.
Yeah, he does. It doesn't take you long to figure it out. It really doesn't.
That's a Coach
We're more like
Collick, baby.
We're more like, we really are.
I
Well,
think
listen.
we're waiting on Coach to put out a book of quotes.
Yeah. He got enough of
Oh
them.
man.
He got enough of them.
Look,
He got something for
he
you,
got
but he got something to live by. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, I certainly like to thank each and every one of you for sacrificing your time tonight to spend with us this evening to enlighten our viewers. I really enjoyed this interaction. You guys, it was awesome. I really enjoyed this because the information that we provided was both informative and it was pertinent. So I think that we can grow from this after today. And thank you, Fresh, for the vision, and Coach and Kat for your expertise and your passion. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great evening. Thank you all for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.